Paltrocast.
Barry, how's your day going aside from talking to, journalists, quote unquote, that are asking the same questions over and over again that you're bored of answering?
Aside from the boredom of the obvious questions, it's been a good day. It's sunny Florida. Just picked up my daughter actually from her swim team, so fed her some lunch, and now I'm doing an interview. Typical dad life when I'm home.
Hashtag dad life. Well, thank
That's
you for
it.
taking the time. Seriously, you're the kind of person that we could talk about the many millions of albums sold and the arena tours and all that. But instead, let's talk about the success, the rise and launch of the hot sauce. How long
Sure.
was that from going, okay, well, I want to do a hot sauce line to actually launching it? Was it a long runway to that?
Yeah, it took about 5 months. So it's something I've always been into. I've been a hot sauce guy since I was a kid. Half my fridge is full of hot sauces. I grow my own peppers. I'm a nerd when it comes to hot sauces. And always had a kind of it'd be nice to do that someday, but never really got into it. And then Torchbearer, who we partnered with, hit up the label and said, "Hey, do you think any of your artists would be interested in this?" And they approached Shinedown. I went, "Yep, I'm your guy. Let's go." So I got with Vid, who's one of the main people over at a Torchbearer, and we just started tossing ideas back and forth. Hey, what flavor profiles do you like? What do I like? And we did this, and then he started sending samples back and forth, and we like this one, and he'd go, yeah, but I'd like it to be a little thicker. Maybe we'll add some arrowroot to it, that whole thing. And it took about 5 months of that process of narrowing it down, and I took some on the road, some samples on the road I put them in catering for people to try, and you like this, or you like this one? What don't you like about this one? And we narrowed it down to 3 sauces, the symptom sauce being the first of the 3 releases that's been out there, the garlic chipotle. And I wanted to release that first, or we wanted to release that first, because it's the mildest of the bunch, and it's more palatable for everyone. It's not going to blow your head off. Yes, it's a hot sauce, but even my 13-year-old daughter enjoys it, and she's not into spicy foods yet. So yeah, it's been fun, and it's doing well, and it's a neat adventure for me that's outside of just accounting for and hitting things.
Where does the hot sauce journey exactly start for you? Were you always into spicy food, or something that you grew into with the world travels?
It started when I was a little bit younger, than before I started traveling a lot. Traveling definitely helped because I'm a foodie. I go and find all the local foods. But it started when I was pretty young. So my family, my parents are from the Midwest. They're from Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a military brat. I was born in Colorado at the Air Force Base, but I've been in Florida since I was 5 years old. And growing up in Florida, my parents, we always sat down for family meals. That was the thing. We're a very traditional household. But it was Midwestern food, meat and potatoes, relatively bland food. But I'd go to my friends' houses and they'd have a bottle of Tabasco on the table. I'm like, ooh, what's that? Can I try it? Sure. Instant success. And yeah, Tabasco is one of the basics, but it's one of the OGs. And that's really what kicked it off for me, was growing up in the South with a Midwest palate, I guess, and feeling these different flavors, and all of a sudden these different things, and we go try different people's food. There was one of my best friends across the street, also a military kid.
Right.
His mom was Thai, from Thailand. So I got to try all these different flavors, and it just exploded my brain to like, wow, there's so much more out there than a steak and potato.
Yeah. Is this your first major notable non-Shinedown business venture?
This is my second. So I also have a coffee company that I started
Oh,
with a friend of mine about 6, 7 years ago at this point, called Spartan Brews. You can check it out online, spartanbrewscoffee.com. That's been doing really well. It's been a slow growth because I don't want to, two things. One, I'm very busy with Shinedown, so I don't want to just, oh my God, there's no whole other business I have to take care of. So it's been a very slow growth process, which has been fun, but now it's starting to get a little bit bigger. So I'm just gonna have to hire a little more help than just the 3 of us that are running the company at this point. So it's been fun, and I've been a coffee guy since college. College is when I really got into coffee, because some of my first jobs, paying my way through college, was as barista at coffee shops. That's where I met my now wife, making her
wow.
free mochas so I could get a date with her. So yeah, so I've been a coffee guy a long time, and my partner Steve, he came to me one day and said, what's your long, and this was in the early days of Shinedown, when it was still like, are we going to be able to make another record? And he's like, well, what are you going to do if this doesn't happen? Do you have a fallback plan? I said, I don't. This is what I'm doing. And he said, well, what do you think about maybe? And then he thought about that. And a few years later, he comes back to me and goes, what do you think about coffee? And he didn't know my story. And I was like, I'd love to do coffee. So we did that. And it's been a fun venture as well.
Wow. Okay. So I didn't realize that you were a hospitality person before finding your way into music
Oh
professionally at
yeah.
this high level. How long was it before, or what age was it that you got to quit your day job and get to fully focus on Shinedown?
I was 25. So I had gone to college down at in Orlando at UCF,
Hmm.
graduated there with an anthropology degree, which anybody that has a bachelor's in anthropology knows there are no jobs. So
Communications,
yeah,
anthropology, yeah,
same thing.
theology,
Um,
yeah.
so I was managing the Sam Ash down there, the drum department,
Really?
and working there and really enjoying it. And I had a couple local bands that I played in and played the circuit and did that whole thing. And as I'm getting a little bit older, I'm like, well, I guess I need to get a real job. This isn't working out for me. And my brother, who is a radio guy, he's up here in Jacksonville, Florida, where I currently live and have lived since I was 24. Um, he said, "Hey, man, one of my good friends has this lake doctor's job, and they have an opening. Why don't you move up here because you have basic chemistry?" Because I wanted to do forensic anthropology, and I had basic chemistry through the forensic side of things. Not that I was a great student; I was a horrible student in college. I was a great student in high school, horrible student in college. So I moved up here, got the job cleaning lakes for the state of Florida, and it was a nice job. And my wife was able to work as a behavior analyst, working with autistic children and then children with special needs, and it was great. And I was living close to my brother, which he and I are very very close.
Hmm.
And my brother, being the radio guy, said, "Hey man, I got this CD," and I had pretty much given up at drums at this point. I'm like, I'm 25, I need to get married, I just need to settle down, and it's going to be a hobby from here on out. And I got this demo CD of this kid named Brent Smith, and I heard his voice and went, oh, "Yeah, I got to try this." And my wife said, "Go for it." And we weren't married at the time, but we were going to be. Um, and tried out for the band, and here it is, 20 something years later, and still going.
Well, if you don't mind me asking some stuff besides how successful your hot sauce is, and that there's another one coming out in 3 weeks and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I knew about Shinedown pretty early because a music industry mentor of mine had signed Rick Beato to a publishing deal. And it's kind of like, oh, who has he worked with? Oh, this band called Shinedown. Oh, interesting. Now, I
Yeah.
know Rick because of that old mentor managing the band Billionaire. I
Yeah.
like Billionaire. How did Rick get onto your radar for you to know him many years before he became a YouTube influencer?
Yeah. He's like a superstar now. And you know what's cool about that? He's the same exact guy. He's the exact guy that I remember from 20 something years ago. So when we were making the first record, we had written a bunch of songs, and so at this time we weren't Shinedown yet. It was not named, but we were together. And really it started with Brent. Brent was in another band, and I'm making a very long story as short as possible. Brent was in another band in Knoxville. That band was signed to Atlantic. It never saw the light of day. It got shelved. But they kept
Oh,
Brent because they saw something special in his voice. Obviously, he's got a wonderful voice. And this was back when Ahmet Ertegun was still running Atlantic Records, and he
yeah.
signed everybody from Zeppelin on up. And that was
Stones.
back when they did a lot of, yeah, that's back when they did a lot of artist development still. And he was old school, so he's like, I'm going to develop this artist. So he sent Brent writing to hone his craft, and that's how he ended up in Jacksonville writing here. And then so we had written a bunch of songs, and we were close, and we had gone to LA to record a few of those and for the first record, what was going to be the first record, but we needed to write a few more. And our A&R guy knew Rick Beato and said, "Why don't you go write with him over in Atlanta and find some more songs?" And then we did, and we recorded with him, and he was wonderful to work with. He's a sweetheart. And yeah, that's how we got to know Rick Beato, and wrote, I forget which songs at this point, it's been so long ago, but like 3 or 4 for the record, and recorded them there at his I think it was at Tree Studio at the time. And then rehearsed in his house at the time. I'm not even sure if it's still the same house. I'd love to see him again. It's been a few years. But yeah, that's how we got with Rick Beato. And what was neat about Rick Beato is we were a baby band. We were a bunch of idiots. We're young kids. We're idiots. He had already kind of been through that process with Billionaire, and so he was very patient. Patient with young guys that really don't understand a studio yet. And we're like, okay, what is all this? And it was a good time. It was a wonderful learning experience working with him.
I don't think most people realize that Brent was a holdover from another deal and that stuff never came out and all that. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting to see because certain bands, the whole lore. Like we know every band that Eddie Van Halen ever played with, collaborated with, etc. Yet Shinedown, we don't know that about. Is that intentionally good PR suppressing all that, or just no one ever asked?
No one ever asks. We don't have that good a PR. Come on.
No, you have excellent PR, and Barry is
No, we
excellent.
do.
So
Barry's
kudos.
excellent, but no, we are an open book. We never hide anything, and I love Barry. She's been great, and she's relatively new to us. But yeah, it's an interesting backstory. But the thing with Brent, because I think at a moment there, they wanted him to be a solo artist, like a Rob Thomas or something,
Yeah.
and he's like, absolutely not. I've always wanted to be in a band. I will be in a band. I must have a band. And to this day, he's that way. He could have gone off in between records and done whatever the hell he wanted to. And I support him 100%. He's my brother. But that's not his MO. That's not his vibe. He wants to be a band of brothers taking over the world, and that's what we do.
So back to you and the hot sauce here. Some merchandise items are easier to port on the road than others. You unfortunately are in that category with Sammy Hagar, where the thing that you're selling is in glass bottles. So it's not that you have to port or bring overseas. But is it that the hot sauce is available at some Shinedown gigs, like the ones that you can truck over?
We haven't figured that out yet because it's still new, and we want to definitely have all three out. So maybe we can do like a 3-pack or something. Or maybe it's going to be one of those things you can buy the coupon at the store, because listen, having 3 glass bottles at a rock show is dangerous for everybody, right? Those are instant projectiles. That's why they don't sell beer in bottles anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the legalities and how we're going to pull that off, or if we can maybe get them into plastic bottles at some point just for the shows, like a limited run with plastic bottles. That's in the talks, but as of right now, it's online sales only, just because the legalities, God forbid somebody throws one and beans somebody and hurts them really bad. We're on the hook for that. I don't want that at all for anybody.
Got it. So that's all being determined, but there are 3 flavors in the works, and do you eventually hope to get it up to like 15?
No, I think we'll just do the 3 because we spent 5 months curating these 3, and they're 3 very distinct flavors. I already know what they are. I already have them in my fridge. They're wonderful, and they're different. Nothing is crazy hot. We didn't want to go, Trinidad Scorpion Pepper or the Buja League or the Carolina. I didn't want to get in that territory because I don't want to drink mace any more than most people don't. So if it's so hot that it's just not fun anymore, why? I want it to be flavorful. So, we'll keep it in the, the habanero ranges for the most part, but they are 3 distinct flavors. So they go with different things, and you can mix match. There are no rules, just like music, there are no rules, no hard and fast rules anyway.
That reminds me of kind of the problems that you have with being a brewery, where artistically you want to do the triple IPA kind of thing, but then is it actually drinkable? Can somebody actually have more than one of it? So it sounds like you wanted to have something where taste was the priority rather than it being Shinedown branded.
100%, because like you, I'm a beer guy as well. I love beer. But again, I don't want to drink a 10% beer and only have one. And if I have 2, I'm going to really pay for it the next morning. I'm not a young spring chicken anymore. I want to be able to have 3, 4, 5 and still feel decent in the morning,
Well said. Well, 2 quick questions and then I'll let you go. And the first one is, what was the band that made you want to become a musician in the first place? What was that gateway? Because my experience is everybody just starts out listening to the radio, and then the professional musicians at a certain point, they either have that older sibling or that punk rock or metal group that they realize, oh, these are actually people. These are physical beings creating this stuff. And I could never figure that out with you personally and looking up Shinedown stuff.
Yeah. So for me, I have an older brother. He's 6 years older than me, and he's a music guy as well. We wanted to be Van Halen when we were kids because he played guitar when I was playing drums. But back in the 80s, there was Columbia House, and you get the tapes in the mail, right? And so he was always getting tapes in the mail, and he'd be like, hey, check this out, listen to this, listen to this. And we're 80s metalheads, so it was Def Leppard, Crocus, Motley Crue, whatever. I can get deep on some 80s metal, right?
Oh, we can talk Sleaze Bees and Pretty Boy Floyd and Dangerous Toys all day, but you're pressed
all day. Don't get me started on Dangerous Toys. I love them. So it was that time period, and music was just coming at you. And MTV, I remember my brother, my dad got stationed in Turkey for a couple of years, so we moved up to Wisconsin with my grandparents, and it was that summer that MTV started, and we literally watched the first day that MTV came on. We
Oh,
watched Video Killed the Radio Star come on TV and just sat there with our minds blown, going, "What is this great thing?"
yeah.
So being part of the MTV generation when they played music and didn't suck, to the tapes and everything else, it was all of that. But I think the band that really, when I started playing drums, I was 7, started playing drums, started paying attention more to drummers and the music that kind of hit me. Because I'm definitely, even in our band, we talk about there's two different people that listen to music. Some people listen melodically, vocally melodically, and some people listen rhythmically. Obviously, I'm a drummer. I listen rhythmically. I couldn't even tell you all the lyrics to half the Shinedown songs. It
Oh, yeah.
just doesn't hit me. I'm listening to rhythm. So, like James Brown gets me excited because it's rhythmic. Stuart Copeland and the Police get me excited because it's rhythmic. It was Iron Maiden. When my brother was babysitting a house for one of his buddies, and the Number of the Beast record was sitting there on his friend's turntable, and we turned it on, and that was it. I lost my mind. I'm like, what is this world? With the gallop and these fast rolling tom fills and everything else. I was like, I'm sold. This is what I want to do.
Wow. Well, pivoted last question here, because you mentioned Van Halen, and generally every interview that I ever do mentions Van Halen because I wrote a book about David Lee Roth. So inevitably people ask me to Roth bomb the interviews here. Now, you did your first
Bring it.
record partially at Henson, and Roth is notoriously at Henson. Have there ever been any random Van Halen run-ins over the years as a fellow Warner catalog artist?
Never once was there a random run in, but in 2005, we toured with them for 2 months on the Sammy reunion tour.
The tour that nobody wants to talk about having happened except for Shinedown.
Correct. And it was the most amazing time of my life. One of the most amazing times of my life. It was unbelievable. As much as those guys hated each other at that moment in time, they were so sweet to all of us. Every single day, Eddie would walk. Eddie took a really big liking to Brent. He found some sort of kinship. And, Eddie was cigarette in mouth, bottle of wine in one hand, guitar on, 24/7. That's how he lived. And so, he'd kick open our dressing room door. Hey, where you go? And he's just shredding and teaching. Hey, how'd you do that on guitar? He's super, super fun. Hammered all the time, but he was so nice to us. And he had Wolfie when Wolfie was still riding a little scooter up and down the hallways. He was like 10. And, it was cool. And Valerie was there occasionally with Wolfie, taking care and everything. So I got to meet all that. And she's the sweetest. Wolfie was a good kid. Is a good guy, but he was a good kid at the time. And then, you never saw Alex. Alex would just show up, do the gig, get out, because he didn't want a part of the drama, I'm sure. But I did get to sit behind his drum set, which was awesome. And then Sammy and Michael were their own dudes. They had their own world. They had their own side. They had their own dressing room. So those two camps never got together until they were on stage. And then, Sammy and Michael had their little bar side stage. And they're drinking tequila at the time and Jack Daniels and whatever else they want. So they go, hey, man, anytime during the show, come on over and have a few drinks with us. So we go in their little bar watching Van Halen playing. I'm a kid again going, oh, my God, I'm on tour with Van Halen, having a drink with Sammy and Michael while they're playing. And it's just blowing my mind. And Sammy would rate our shows, how good we did, by leaving a bottle of tequila in our room. If it's a shitty show that we did, he'd leave a basic bottle. If it was a good show, he'd give us the good stuff. So it was a great time, and there was one night Sammy was singing, because on stage you couldn't really tell that they hated each other, but occasionally you could. Like there was one night Sammy was singing, and I don't know why Eddie was pissed at him, but he was. And Eddie comes over and just kicks him as hard as he can, square in the nuts while he's singing. I'm like, yeah, they really don't like each other. But I had a dream come true, and they sounded great every night.
I think that we've learned, Barry, that you know how to put the positive on the negative and make the best out of everything. And that's probably why you found success at 25, that you weren't going in going, I got to make it. It was a happy accident. So the
Of
bottom
course.
line,
You got to be happy in this world. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's too easy to be negative and everybody's shitting on each other. I have no time for that, because it's much easier to just be happy and be nice to everybody, because I put my pants on the same, I shit the same, we all do the same stuff. I just happen to be a rock star for 90 minutes on stage. Other than that, I'm a husband and a dad and a normal dude that likes to cook in my kitchen, So I'll never understand the hatred people have for each other. I choose not to, because it just makes my day worse.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for the many years
Anytime.
of great music, and looking
Thanks for your time.
what's to come, whether it's from the hot sauce, the stage, the record, etc. Thank you, Barry.
Well, you're welcome. We got some shows coming up, and we are in the middle of making the next record. I've already recorded, I think 6-7 songs for it. So we're getting close. We hope to have something, at least a single coming out later this year or early next year, and an album by spring of next year is the hope.
Paltrocast.